Did he come down to do anything?
They gave us a new Linksys system because the one we had was ancient.
Right.
So we'll see if that makes a difference.
Okay.
Okay, we are ready.
Okay, I'd like to call this Police and Fire Committee to an order. Mr. Burnside?
Here.
And Ms. Pingley?
Here.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Chief Roddy and Chief Agnon. Appreciate you being here, listening to what we have to say. I believe Mr. Benson is going to go over what we need to talk about, and if there's any questions from either of you two chiefs, you're able to answer them. So I'll turn the table for you.
So basically, we were looking at city finances and we're looking at the requirements that our police and fire need. And they both have individual requirements that we would like to pursue, but obviously our current budget in our general fund can't support it. Okay, including the ambulance service, including flock cameras, just a bunch of different things. So we wanted to see if the council would be interested in pursuing a police and fire safety levy to help us fund some of these projects.
Okay. What projects do you have in mind? I mean, what is your major project you think you have in mind?
Well, for the police, one of them is, Chief, you want to talk about some of the...
Most importantly, and I think I'm stepping over what Chief Agnon would be discussing, ambulance has always been an issue, but going along with the ambulance service would be dispatching of police, fire, and medical. So anything that we would do, I would like to enhance what our capabilities are for dispatching to take a lot more of the load off of the firemen that do some of that now when it comes to emergency medical stuff. But along with that, equipment such as, I'm sure you've seen it in the paper, flock cameras that do nothing other than just read license plates that come through the city. As soon as they're coming into the city, they'll read a license plate and we will get an alert if they're a sexual predator, if there's outstanding warrants on them. We're able to, through the software, we're able to add our own warrants into this. We've been looking at this and had meetings with people for the last 2 or 3 years, and there just hasn't been funding. They're like $1,200 a camera per year. So it's not like it's something you can just throw up and find money from citing someone for speed. Their use is not only for when people come in, but let's say something happens in town last night, the detectives start looking for a white car that has a partial license plate, a white Honda. And we can put all the parameters in and they will locate every single car that fit that description that come through our town. The other good thing with that is there's so many communities around us that are contracted with Flock to where we can share information. I can pull up one from Daytona Beach. If we thought that one of our people or one of their people, you can basically follow a car pretty far. But if you have no issues with your vehicle, you don't have any outstanding warrants, you don't have any of those things that would alert, doesn't matter. Doesn't do anything to you. They keep it for 30 days and then it's gone. So that's one of the things that's a tool that we would like to get to. It's not a need, it's more of a want. So this would be something that would fall in line with that. But for me, my major thing is I know taxes are not fun, but it would enhance what we do to keep the community safe.
Do you need additional dispatch to monitor that program?
No, that sends alerts. Anyone that has a cruiser will have it pop up. They come up on smartphones. I was just down in Columbus at a Chiefs convention, and the chief from Cortland was there, and he pulled his phone out and he goes, "Oh, I just had a pedophile drive through one of our school zones." And it showed the license plate and who it was, and they ended up stopping the guy, and he ended up having some warrants too. So just little success stories like that make it a valuable tool,
So will every police officer have that downloaded on their phone?
either on their phone or on the MDT
Okay.
in the cruiser, and it alerts immediately as soon as there's a hit on a vehicle. So,
And that's just one of the things that we'd like to fund. Of course, everybody's aware of the ambulance. Mike, did you want to talk about the ambulance services or anything like that?
It's an absolute crisis. If you could talk to any politician, whether it's around us, county, the state, it's an emergency. It's been 2 years now. We acquired a lot in the last 2 years, but everything's used. It's maintenance and upkeep, and just the personnel alone. We don't have enough to get that ambulance out on the road all the time.
So we're spending a lot of money training our own personnel to become paramedics. And all these expenses of training, and some of it is supplemented by our ambulance fund, but believe me, the ambulance fund doesn't generate nearly as much as what we would like to have. So between those plus increased costs for wages, just to keep personnel in our city, you know what I'm saying, we feel we need to supplement. The general fund can't support it. So we would like to supplement that with police and fire levy if the council is willing to take that on.
Now, I know I may have had conversation, I'm not sure this is the right time to bring it up, but was there a conversation about bringing other people in here to fund? Is that for what we're here to fund them too, if we were to bring another company in here
No.
with that?
No, that's not our plans to do that. I won't say it won't happen, but that's not our intentions, okay? This is basically just to support our current police and fire,
Okay,
all right? They need more stuff than what we can supply them right now.
so do we have any idea what type of levy and how much kind of levy we need to put on here?
We don't have that information right now. We started pursuing it, but to continue pursuing it, we just want to get the opinion of council whether we should even bother to pursue it. If you're open, because we can get all the information we want for how much, but if you're not willing to at least, consider the idea, then we're not gonna waste our time trying to find those numbers.
And this is for our own ambulance service, so we would,
Yes, right now, we're using 2 different privates
Yeah.
as the first call. About 50% of the time, they
They're
don't
not
have
there.
bugs.
Right.
So we have, you take 3 guys,
Yeah.
period.
so where
got a
would we
couple
supply?
guys that are just really picking it up and covering it for
Yeah.
us.
So,
I know this is like a huge concern for me and Lori. We talked about this numerous times about the ambulance service. So we would have our own ambulance. Where would we store it? Would it be at the fire station, or would we use?
that's where we have.
That's
our
where it is
current
now.
It's
It is
not.
there now. But what we need to get it on the road more is personnel.
Okay.
trained personnel.
Okay.
So if we pass this levy, so when we hire new firemen, will they have to be paramedics?
Well, that's the thing, if you make a paramedic a requirement to hire a fireman, your cost for a fireman goes up considerably.
But-
What
But I
we
think
done-
it might be worth it.
But
Yeah.
you,
Well,
I mean, you need it.
But that's,
Number
currently,
one,
we can't do that
we don't
because the
have
general
enough
fund can't support
paramedics.
that.
Yeah.
You don't have a
well,
paramedic?
what we've done is put a bonus in. If you have to be a
I
firefighter.
remember that.
Mhm.
If they want to continue schooling and become a paramedic, they get a $5,000 bonus.
Yeah.
That's how we're doing it, because
So they just
I
get a
can show you-
$5,000 bonus, but they don't get anything more hourly? Is that what you're
I
saying?
mean, eventually that may go into their base. Right now, it's, if you keep your certificate every year, you get $5,000.
Every year.
Basically, it's a bonus, but it's pensionable and everything.
We negotiated with the funds we have currently available,
Right.
okay?
But I mean, if we're really gonna make this work, and I
We
mean,
need to go for all of
I
it.
know,
Yep.
I want an
I agree
ambulance,
with
like,
I don't wanna deceive anybody.
Yeah.
No.
Don't think that you're gonna have an ambulance service, a full ambulance service that's gonna completely take care of everything in the city. That's not gonna happen. We will never be able to put that kind of a levy
No.
on.
That would have
Okay.
to be a
Huge,
major.
yeah.
Right.
That levy is not capable for our residents, okay? We're looking for a levy just to supplement this, to make it more affordable so our general fund doesn't put us in bankruptcy, okay?
And I think obviously if you put the, you know, not chief that your stuff isn't important or
No,
anything,
no, I understand completely.
but an ambulatory service right now, you know, the way calls are coming in, which I hear from a lot of firefighters, I mean, it's tough when you're calling somebody has a broken toe or just a cough or this and that.
Yeah.
And people go out and then you don't have nothing to man the truck with.
Correct.
So I understand we have to work on that
And
situation.
even our response times, I have them somewhere, but I would say 2/3 of the time we are from a half hour to over an hour to get them to the hospital.
Right.
Because guys are bouncing coming from home, or they'll bring the truck back, get the ambulance, go back to the call. What we're trying to do is get enough people there that we could get that ambulance there quicker.
well, who would, like, so we're not supposed to be the first ones there, is that what you're saying?
Oh, no,
Like,
we are supposed to.
Yeah,
We're always first on
they're
the
always the
scene.
first one.
That's
But we
that's
will
firemen
arrive,
though, right?
right, that's our firemen will always be first on scene.
Right.
Even if with a private ambulance, we're always first on scene.
Right.
That's where the term first responder come from.
Well,
We get
I
here
mean,
and
fireman,
start.
I'm saying the ambulance. I'm talking about, so
We-
when people call, what
We don't
ambulance?
call our ambulance first, we call the private companies first. That's, and if they're available, good. If they're not available, then we start with our,
We come out like,
yeah,
like a
so
volunteer.
we
So
hope
if-
that we can get a paramedic. We can't, and sometimes if guys are busy doing something, they might not respond to the tone out for half an hour. You know, because they're not on duty, they're on
Or
call.
coming from home
Yeah.
or work or.
So if this would pass, we would be the first,
No,
we would still tone out, we would
Eventually-
still call out for
well,
private
it all depends
ambulances.
on how far we can progress. It's,
Cause we pay a lot for
It's-
that, right? I mean, for the private ambulance services?
we don't pay anything.
Oh, we don't have to pay anything right now,
No.
okay.
So what they does, what's happening is the private ambulance service is taking all the good calls, getting the most money,
Yeah,
and they're backing away on the calls that are non-emergency that cost us to transport that we don't get refunded on. We get refunded, but at a
very
small
minimal,
amount.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
We don't have the personnel to take all the calls, so we still have to rely on them. In order to keep them coming, we have to give them the prime calls, the heart attacks and everything else they take, okay? So that's, and broken legs, they don't respond so much.
And that's what cost
Yeah,
us.
when it's a
And
slow
that's-
day for them,
Yeah.
they do, but there's not too many slow days.
Yeah,
They wanna keep their ambulance services running too, that's how they make their money. If their ambulance is sitting parked somewhere, they're not making money. But there's a difference in pricing for what the call is, and a heart attack is gonna pay a lot more than a broken leg. But that's just one aspect of, because like the chief says, eventually during peak times, we'd like to have a second dispatcher on duty to help, you know, not all the time, two dispatchers, but at peak times. And you can usually figure those out by your call runs and everything else. You know when you're more than likely to be busy. So that's why we're going for a police or for a safety forces levy, not just a fire levy or an ambulance levy or a
Yeah.
police levy, because both sides of it need it.
And it also adds flexibility for special needs that may pop up because of this.
Right. So there's less restrictions on the funds that do come in.
And the fire chief and I have had many discussions. There's times that we have patients that need to go for psychiatric care. They have one fireman on the job, and it's kind of idiotic to take them by ambulance, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting for another ambulance. The police department and the cruisers have had to take.
So your private ambulance services don't
Go
respond to
away, yeah.
those.
Right.
Okay, they're,
There's just too much other important stuff, and there's just,
basically, if you call a private ambulance service for a psychiatric admittance, they're gonna give you the number of a crisis hotline. Am I correct, chief? They're not gonna respond. But in our situation, we do respond. Okay? So that's why we want council to consider police and fire. And as we progress, when we get more numbers for you, we'll give you the exact amount. Believe me, it's not gonna be the amount that I want, but we have to come up with an amount that we feel our citizens are willing to support.
Now, you will be specific in terms of what
How
the
many
money will
millage?
be for? Or is this gonna be, you know, it's like,
It's to support the police and fire, ambulance service, just as any safety forces cost that would show up. It will help supplement.
okay.
How many
And
cameras
it'll be up
does
to
a
you
city
guys,
like this
so.
need?
When I originally talked to one of the representatives, we whittled it down to 10. And what you do is you put them at the entry points, major entry points, like Youngstown Road in Midlothian, State and Walton, 289, and Campbell City limits. So you find the places where you're gonna be getting them coming in.
The higher traffic.
You know, it would be foolish to do one at Lincoln and one at Elm Street. You know, you could pick those. I think as we're moving forward, schools get grants that they can totally pay for those to be on school property, which will tie into what we have. You can request businesses like Astro Shapes. It's a large enough business to where they might want to contribute to where they would say, hey, we're gonna do 2 cameras and we would like them downtown somewhere. So it's just more access for our cause.
Yeah, if we get the system up and running, then of course the chance for expansion is always greater.
Yeah.
And like you said, to a normal citizen, this camera means absolutely nothing. It only picks up on plates that are entered by the police for a specific reason. That's all it's gonna pick up.
It doesn't do
been-
speed, it doesn't,
No.
A little more
Nothing.
security for the
Yeah,
average
absolutely.
citizen.
That's what I would think.
Absolutely.
I've been for the flock cameras since I've been on council, so I'm glad that was brought up.
And if I was in on, you know, just looking into this before they showed up anywhere in Mahoning or Trumbull County. So I'm thinking, I don't really want to be the first one to have to introduce this and explain all this. God bless you. But now that they've had so many success stories, I think Niles has maybe like 35 of them, and the mall probably has 10 themselves. But there's been so many success stories that I think the initial hubbub from citizens has died down to where, you know, this is a good thing.
Mhm.
So, and once again, I'm not here begging for money for that, but it is a tool that I would like to get to at some point.
And not to mention that we need to replace some cruisers, and the price of cruisers are going up. Even though I heard Ford now offers a 10-year, 100,000-mile guarantee on their police cruisers, but they're still, we got 2015s that are seeing the end of their production year, and we need to replace them.
Right.
So just general operating costs of the police and fire. Our ambulance is old. It's not gonna last forever. At some point, we need to, and we're always looking for grant money to help offset that cost. Don't think that we're gonna try to start paying for everything ourselves. We're not. We're always looking for grant money to help offset all the costs.
When does the fire station levy end?
Like, you know, I think we got 2 more years.
It was,
2 more?
it was a 6-year deal, wasn't it?
4 years maybe.
Was it 4 years?
Left on it, and 4 to 5, I would have said.
Okay, it was a 6-year levy, I believe, right?
Hmm?
It was a 6-year levy.
Oh, well, I thought it was 10 year.
I don't.
I think it was
we don't
6
look
too,
at
and I
it.
think it was the
How
first
long,
year I
how
was
long
on
has Pat been
council,
in here?
since
I know we
2020,
put it on as soon as Terry was going out.
so since 2020.
Cat's in her 5th year.
Yeah.
So it's getting close.
Yeah.
It's getting close.
That's the only thing that might hurt it.
Exactly.
Because we got that levy, we have the road levy, now we're gonna ask for another levy.
Right, and that's why we wanted to bring you council to see what your thoughts were
I
on
mean,
whether
we
we
can
should
always
pursue
put
this.
it on and see what the people say, cause that's
Right.
gonna pass
I
it.
don't think
That's
it
what
would
we
get
gotta do.
voted down. I really don't think people would vote it
I mean,
down.
I can speak for council, I think we're all about safety forces
Sure.
here in our city, that, you know, we would, I mean, we could do a round table, and I'm sure we would, in the majority.
If people
Well, we'll
realize
call-
Yeah.
the ambulance service
Once we
issue,
get more numbers, we're gonna ask you to call another
Okay,
meeting.
that's
And
great.
then we'll present the actual numbers to you, and we'll go over the millage and see what we feel our residents can
Well,
afford and.
No,
willing to support.
obviously, the election, there's gonna be in November, we have to get it somewhere before, 3 months before.
It's gotta be in
Right.
before
So
September.
we want this passed before you go into recess.
Yes,
Right.
we have to
Okay.
pass something before we go into recess, so,
Yep,
guys, if you could get some numbers in order for us or whatnot, so we can
Yeah.
take a look at it, I think we'll be more than welcome to,
to move forward.
forward with this, guys, with, okay?
Yeah, and I know Mike works well with Bob and Kat, and so do I,
Sure.
so, you know, we can pinpoint important things and how we're hoping that we can obtain the same goals. You know, ultimately, we're serving the citizens, and, you know, this is one of those, the ambulance is the main focus of all this. So, but like I said, there's offshoots to it that need to go hand in hand with it.
Very good.
Okay,
And I mean, we could probably rile up all kinds of people if you want, as far as we waited a half hour, we waited,
Oh, yeah.
we waited up.
we've gotten
We
complaints.
didn't even wait, we just put them in the car
Yeah.
and took them. We have, sometimes we have to talk to people, and it's like, if you just go, it's
Mhm.
gonna be way quicker.
Yeah,
And by that standard too, we are very lucky because we're located
Very
pretty much
close.
in the middle
Yeah.
of Belmont and Boardman, to where I'd hate to be out in Sebring or,
Right.
you know,
yeah.
Jackson
Give a
Township.
bath and a police escort.
And as we
I
did
mean,
for like the fire lever and
you
everything
know.
else, you know, we got it on board to do this and put it on the ballot and everything else, and we had our fundraisers and everything else. I'm sure you guys, you know, your men will be on board to, you know, get this in there and help it out, so.
Yep.
But. All right, any other questions for the chiefs or safety service director? All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to adjournment.
make
Meeting
a
adjourned.
motion.
Motion,
Second,
second, meeting adjourned.
okay.
We're released.
Yes,
You're released.
Thank you,
thanks
gentlemen.
for coming.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
yep.
He needs to know anything more about
Good, how are
He
you?
got my back, he
Okay.
knows all about it.
He's no good.
Okay, I'm gonna call this finance and legislation meeting to order. Mr. Ballack? Here. Mr. Burnside's here, Mr. Beagley is not here. We have two speakers tonight, I guess?
Yes.
So we're gonna let them, cause we got a lot of legislation to go over, so we'll let you guys speak first, whoever wants
We'll
to
let
go.
the gentleman go
So,
first.
we just wanted to come in because, as of yesterday, our fundraising portal, our primary fundraising portal has ended for the Struthers Unleashed Dog Park. And where we netted out was quickest, easiest breakdown from citizens and, friends and, you know, in-kind donations, $10,000. From the Marjorie Hartman Foundation, who was matching funds. They actually came to us at the middle part of last week and said, with what you have done, we no longer want to match, we just want to give you the full $50,000, so we have $50,000 from them. And then this afternoon, we had put in for $7,500 with the county for ARP funds, and we got that as well. So
Great.
we're at $67,000 for the dog park.
Great,
So
so we should have a Cadillac dog park there.
that's the plan. Also, a reminder that within some of those funds, with what we did with the county, we asked for money for benches, not only for the dog park, but for the surrounding Grim Evo Park itself. So we should have 4 or 5 extra benches we can put up. And then out of the $50,000 from Hartman, whatever's not used within a year to build the park, once that's done, goes to the city for things like, you know, swing set it there,
Great.
things like that. So
I've always wanted one there.
opportunity is there to do all of those things. So our first step, just in general, as we kind of get going with build out, is the burn pit that's there. We have a group coming in, Big Buckeye Lawn Care, to look at it this week, and hopefully next week, just pull all that stuff out and quickly resod. And then hoping to sit with you, Jim, and just kind of start talking through timeline for when we get Austin Town fencing to put in fencing, and just steps along the way to build out, so that hopefully by mid-June, we can do an opening. And we're aiming for a groundbreaking on Saturday, May 18th in the morning, just a real simple kind of mark off where the area is at, try to get the news out, that sort of thing. We'd love to have anyone from council there to be with us and talk up to local media and things like that.
What time is that?
I think I'll go with Kat. I think we're saying 10 or 11 in the morning. Because I think she's got some baseball stuff in the afternoon. So. But how about it? 67 grand, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's great.
That's great.
So as part of that, we're going to have to come up with legislation for the actual lease of the land, that portion of land to, Struthers Unleashed. Okay. Slip my mind for a second.
All good.
One thing I would do, I would go up to high school and see if they'll make them benches for you.
Already have 6 made.
We have 6.
Okay,
6 in production.
good.
Yep.
Yeah, because I talked to them and they said, you know, that would be great.
Yep.
They're
Okay.
beautiful. They did a great job on them.
Yeah, all right.
So, the legislation, of course, we're gonna work up something with them in their language. We're gonna frame it somewhere close to what we had with the little Wildcats.
Okay.
Okay, so same type of language where you're responsible for the cleanup and the maintenance of the fence and everything else, or whatever we come to an agreement with.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll bring that legislation to council for passage. And the rest of Nebo Field, which the little Wildcats are no longer using because they have disbarred, our Struthers Baseball League has shown some interest in it, and they want to tell you some of the things they want to do the rest of the field up there.
So, with complete consideration for the awesome job you guys have done putting the work in, we would like to put another baseball field or 2 on the rest of the property, as long as it fits in there with the dog park, and use it for like our overflow games and tournament overflow that we have that we host down at the complex already.
So a lot of the cost to do that, the baseball league is willing to accept.
The fencing and the field.
The fencing,
or, you know,
fielding,
all that, you put the fields in.
fertilization, and everything like that, they're willing to take on. And they are under the understanding that they're going to both work together on this.
But I also want an understanding that it is still a public park.
Right, so,
We would just,
Yeah.
our only thing with the public park is, we would hope that we could come to some kind of agreement, like, at Mothy, you know, during the high school season at Mothy, that, you know, that
That field
field
is
is the
off
high
limits.
school's field.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do a whole lot on it, so, the high school runs from, you know, the end of March till the end of April. You know, ours runs a little bit later, it's end of April to end of June. You know, so outside those 2 months, you know, if kids want to play pickup baseball on them, go to town, you know, but during
So
those
they
2
can
months.
do that.
Yeah, outside of those
Yeah,
months,
right.
hopefully, because, you know, during the season, we put a lot of time and work
Sure.
into prepping the fields, and, you know, if you got kids running through it, when it's muddy, that adds a ton of extra prep time and stuff, so we like, you know, for those 2 months at least to be kind of
exclusive.
exclusive to our league, but, you know, outside of that, if they wanna go on it, then,
Yeah, that's my biggest concern was I've been advocating putting swing sets up there and everything. We've been putting so much in the Mothy Park,
We're running out of
we
space.
forget about it,
Yeah.
the other parks that we have. And the population of children up in Nebo is getting more, and they need a place to go play.
Sure.
So,
yeah, we're definitely not looking to take away the space for the community.
yeah, I understand. I mean, you're leasing it for your games, and you should have them for your games. I agree. But and same with the dog park and stuff like that, that's more of a public thing anyway.
Yeah.
But my concern is to keep it a public park for people to enjoy.
You know, the high school wants a place to play, but, and they have contacted us about trying to facilitate a place for them to play. I don't think it's usable there, especially the dog park. It would really interfere with it. It takes the whole space. So our goal is to put in 2 Little League fields that butt back to back. Like one would be in the far corner of the
Shared
closest
outfield.
place, and then the center field fences would touch. You know, and that should give them plenty of space at the dog park to have their room, and then give us some.
Well, your space is all, like you said, over by the bird head.
Yeah, we're in
I don't know if you know where the current baseball field, it's at the
the one,
entrance.
yeah,
That's one of
coming
them.
off is the way
And
we're
then-
doing the two, and it should fit.
You know, cause we like charge
It should be.
admission, so like we rent, like,
But I'm sure you two
I
can
don't wanna
also
say
work
work,
together.
we rent, like companies come to us and they rent our complex. And they pay us to use our fields, it's usually about $25 to $50 a game to run their tournament. So we would want to rent those two fields out to them as well if they're coming to run a tournament. Like field lights, I mean, down the road, we could definitely look it up, those are super expensive.
That's what I'm saying, like,
We're
I mean, you
actually,
guys are doing a really good job, you guys are gonna put lights.
we're trying, we actually just started working with a few different tournament companies, we actually are running like 5 tournaments out of the complex this year. And I know they wanna maintain working with us, so down the road, it definitely could be a thing.
And how late in the season does the tournaments last?
The rec season, so.
I mean, you're talking about renting them out for tournaments.
So the rec season runs from the end of March, or from middle of April to middle of June. And then we have this year 2 tournaments after that, but those are only on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay,
And so they're usually like Saturday morning, games start at 8, they're done by 6.
okay,
And that's it for the day.
okay.
So it would honestly only be like Monday through Friday in the afternoon, 1 game usually, if there's people over there. And on the weekends, 5 times a year, they would use probably all day Saturday and half a day Sunday to start the.
As the tournament progresses, the team gets knocked out, so
We
then they
don't have to
could
use it
go,
all day
be
Sunday.
able to go just down to Davisville for.
And you got a lot of parking there too.
You know, obviously, and we would leave anything, again, not to step on the amazing job you guys are raising money, but like, you know, if we're having a tournament, whatever, people are coming to the dog park, you know,
You can watch the game as well.
Come on in, you know, go to the park.
How about the concession stand there? Are you gonna maintain that, or are you
Well,
gonna?
we would like to use both those buildings because having the fields there, we're gonna have extra equipment and everything. I was up at the park a couple times over last week, like you said, the roof on the back building's gone, I mean, there's just no roof on the building at all anymore. And we haven't been in to the larger building, so we don't know what it's like in there, so to commit to maintaining it when we don't know, you know, what it looks like, that would be kind of hard to do. You know, now if it's in good shape and good condition and we're inheriting, you know, functional buildings, then I can see it where we would maintain it, but, you know, without knowing that, we could commit to that.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've got a request out to get a quote on putting a roof back on that building. Because that building is the electrical source for the bigger building. So we got an electrical panel in there with no roof over top of it at this moment. So I'm getting a quote that I should have by Friday to at least put a roof back on that building. And with the dog park being there and possibly being used by our young children, there was bathrooms there at one time. I'll probably try to get a quote to see what it would cost to put those bathrooms back into operation. But like I said, that's funding that we'll have to see if we can get it. I know there's still a little bit of ARPA fund running around that, you know, you can use for parks, so we're gonna try to,
Yeah.
Oh, please. But those buildings, we have to address them before we even think about that, leasing them out.
Okay.
We have to make,
Yeah.
like he said, we can't lease out buildings that are under repair.
And you will need some facilities there for
Right.
bathrooms.
So our options are gonna be either we're gonna lease, porta potties, because you gotta have them, if you got public coming.
Yep.
Or get the bathrooms back up and running, which would be a more ideal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's wrong with the sanitary line. I heard there was something wrong with the sanitary line, so I'll get with Frankie and we'll try to camera it and see what actually can be done.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, good job.
I will
on the
get with both of these people, try to come to an agreement with a lease agreement, and then have John look it over to bring it back to council for passage.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, brother. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, very good, thanks.
Good job, guys.
Okay, with that, we'll go over the legislation. All right, let's see what we got here. Do we need to go over every one of these ordinances?
No, I mean, no, you don't have to, if you just wanna read the headings, or if you just wanna go through them.
Okay.
You wanna start with the
But mainly
variance
it's,
first?
Yeah, let's do the variance first, then we
Yeah,
can
do the
get
variance.
that going.
it'll help.
Okay, so we had a zoning board meeting because these people approached us. They ordered a garage and before they found out that garages are not permitted on vacant lots. So they put a lot of money into it. They bought the lot. It's right behind their house, but it's not in a direction behind their house where they could replot it into one lot. Okay, it kind of offsets a little bit and they can't replot. So they're wanting to use it for a private antique car storage is what it is. He guy owns a lot of antique cars. He wants to have a second garage to put the cars in. It's not going to be for any kind of commercial use at all. It's just basically a private garage. And that's we are asking for a variance for a private use garage only.
Okay.
On that vacant lot.
Where's that at?
That's up by,
It's right by the school. It's on the
On
high
Spring
school.
Street.
It's on Spring Street. So you got the Spring Street senior parking lot, then there's a vacant lot, and then there's this vacant lot. And the gentleman that bought it is catty corner over on Morrison.
Okay. All right, so we have an ordinance as recommended by the zoning board granting the use variance to the location of a lot being built for Amy and Frank Pennell. The property is lot number 600 Spring Street, Struthers, Ohio. The use variance involves the construction of a prefabricated building for the sole use of storing antique vehicles and declaring an emergency. Motion to bring it up.
Make a motion to bring it out. Is that something that maybe we should do 3 readings on? I mean, in case anybody,
Okay, so the reason that we put it in as an emergency is, like I said, this gentleman thought he could put the garage up. And it's a prefab garage that he ordered already. And right now it's ready to go, and he's paying a storage fee on that garage until it is delivered.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just saying that in
what you're
case
saying.
anybody in the neighborhood, it goes to 3 readings
So,
and somebody
included with
has an
that-
issue with that.
He's got signatures from everybody in the neighborhood.
oh, he does?
Yeah.
Just gonna ask
So
that.
that, we brought that in through with the city council.
Okay.
When the zoning board looked that over, he got every neighbor to sign it.
Okay, everything's in line here. All right, so you brought it up, Jim?
Yep.
And
I'll
I'll
make a
second that. Okay, and the second one, let's see, which one do we want to do first?
With the help.
Okay. All right, we have an ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a contract with the Mahoney County General Health District for public health services and combining the Struthers City Health Department and the Mahoney County General Health District, appealing ordinance number 24-028 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Is this also should be an
So
emergency?
you just passed this ordinance under 2024.
Oh, that's the one we just passed, that's right, okay.
And we had to make a language change, so we're asking you to approve it with this language change. What was the language change?
Well, I think when we approved it, it was like not to exceed $30,000,
Right,
but that wasn't, that's not how
The
it's supposed to
prices.
be. It goes within their village, so.
so,
goes
and
up.
that's
And it's
taken care of in here.
Yeah,
So this is more of an amendment to what we already passed.
Yes.
basically.
Okay, all right. Motion to bring it out.
Make a motion to bring it out.
Second that. Okay, now for all the work here.
Do you wanna go over the language
Yeah.
for new hire?
Yes,
So because that would depend on whether or not you're gonna bring on
okay.
the full timers.
So we want to we have some language change for new hires. The old one was the short sentence, right?
The very first one. So
Okay.
we wanna read that.
All right. Should any full-time position become vacant, the salary for a new replacement employee will be set at 90% of the base salary the first year and 100% of the base salary in the second year, with all increases to be effective on the hire date, and any subsequent pay increases become effective January 1st after the second year, unless vacancy is filled within an already existing full-time city employee, in which the employee will receive 100% of the salary. That's the old language.
That's
That's a new
that's the
language.
new. The old language read exactly the same, but it said 85%.
85%. We put 90%.
Well, I might have messed up, but
I thought you wanted to get rid of this one. I read
yeah, we want to get, you read this one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the one we're gonna get rid of, but it is 85. I'll have to change it, but like, it is 85, so we're gonna switch it to the 90 to the 100. But this is where I want you guys to see if this is what you want, or if you guys want to keep this language.
Okay,
and make
so
it
that's
90.
what we have now, except for the 90%.
This is what we have now, but it's gonna be 90, 100, so I just messed it up, that's all.
So the new one is, should any full-time position in the city of Struthers become vacant, the salary for new replacement employee will be set at 90% of the base salary in the first year. The employee will receive a full wage for said position after the employee completes 1 year of continuous full-time service with the city in the new position. Any current full-time employee of the city of Struthers who has more than 1 year of continuous full service within the city shall not be subject to the new hire schedule if he or she accepts a lateral transfer from one position to the other within the city. In such instances, the current full-time employee shall be eligible for the full rate immediately after accepting a lateral transfer to the new position. Said new hire provisions shall not apply to department head positions as defined in the department head wage ordinance. This section may be overridden by act of council based on qualifications of said new hire. So that's the first paragraph.
That's the first one, and then the second one will deal with department heads.
And the second one is, like she said, with the departments. In the event a department head salary would be less than or equal to the highest subordinate salary in the department, the new salary will be 92% of the base salary the first year, 97% of the base salary the second year, and 100% of the base salary the third year, with all increases to be effective on the hire date, and any subsequent pay increases existing become effective on January 1st after the third year, unless vacancy is filled with any already existing full-time employee in which the employee will receive 100% of the salary. This section may be overridden by the act of council on qualifications of said new department head hire.
Now, you guys did address those percentages, so I didn't know what you wanted. I wanted, like I said, you just have to know what we're gonna do with that, so those can be aligned in the paper.
I think we should just make it 90 and 100. Yeah. All the way around.
All the way
Okay.
And then, like, council can make the exceptions like we had to do with the department head.
So if you are presented with high qualifications from the candidate and you feel they're justified, you can go straight to 100%.
Correct. And that would be council's judgment.
Okay. So if you want to make those, just put the changes 90 and 100 there, I'll take out the third step.
Okay. Move through. Okay. So should we wait for this to be passed before we do this, right? No, I guess we can do this. So I need a motion to bring it up. And I will second that. Everybody okay with that?
So the only other real language change we made was in our part-time employees. Instead of setting a wage of $10.45, which is minimum wage, we changed the language to read that we pay the state
Minimum wage.
and then, of course, everybody else, the 5% increases in implemented in everybody's base salary.
Okay.
Which we do.
best get reading. Alright, we'll go over to full-time employees first. And we're gonna be able to pass this as a package though, correct?
Yeah, I just read all the headings and you guys can do a first and a second. It'll be the first and second on each one.
Okay.
And then, yeah, it'll be just a little bit quicker.
Yeah, we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Okay,
We do that with part-time and full-time.
alright, the first one is an ordinance establishing the position and salaries of all elected officials retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for the said employees, repealing ordinance number 22-016 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number two, an ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment provisions for the department heads, non-classified service appointment by the mayor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, excluding superintendent wastewater plant, repealing ordinance number 24-007 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number three, an ordinance establishing salary for the superintendent of the wastewater plant department head in the city of Struthers, Ohio, beginning January 1st, 2024, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number four, an ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment provisions for the street department, a civil service position appointed by the mayor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, excluding the working foreman, repealing ordinance number 23-025, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. An ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment provision of the code enforcement director, a non-classified service appointment by the mayor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, repealing ordinance number 21-027, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Next, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the position of mayor's executive assistant, retroactive to January 1st, 2024, providing for vacations, funeral leave, and said employee, repealing ordinance number 22-019, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring emergency. Next one is an ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment provisions for the deputy auditor, non-classified service appointed by the auditor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for the said employee, repealing ordinance number 22-021, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. The next one is an ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment of clerk of council, a non-classified service appointment appointed by the council, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, repealing ordinance number 23-040, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Okay. An ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment provisions for the secretary to the law director, a non-classified service appointed by the law director, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, repealing ordinance number 22-022, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Next one is an ordinance establishing the position, salary, and employment provisions for the police chief secretary and non-classified service appointed by the mayor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, repealing ordinance number 22-023, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. I think this is the last one. No, not yet. An ordinance establishing position, salary, and employment provisions for full-time park caretaker labor, a non-classified service appointed by the mayor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee, repealing ordinance number 22-025, and an ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. And the last one is an ordinance establishing the position, person, a non-classified service appointed by the mayor, retroactive to January 1st, 2024 for said employee. Repealing ordinance number 22-026 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Anybody have any questions on this? Is that one? Okay, need a motion to bring these out. Motion to bring these out, and I will second that. Did we, John's secretary, sorry. Yeah. All right, the next one is for part-time. Okay. An ordinance creating the position of a non-classified part-time dispatcher, observer, training, setting hours and wages for said position, and repealing ordinance number 43-030, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. These are all part-time workers. The next one is an ordinance creating the position of part-time police officer in the police department and setting wages, repealing ordinance number 22-027, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 3, an ordinance creating the position of 2 part-time tax clerks in the tax office, setting the hours and wages for said positions, repealing ordinance number 22-032, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 4, an ordinance creating the position of part-time driver for the elderly, setting hours and wages, repealing ordinance number 22-033, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. 5, an ordinance creating and establishing an hourly rate for part-time paid firemen and setting an amount to be paid to part-time paid firemen for the attendance at training meetings, and repealing ordinance number 23-029, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. An ordinance creating the position of part-time park laborer, authorizing the mayor to hire said persons, establishing compensation, repealing ordinance number 23-238, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. And the last one is an ordinance creating the position of part-time street laborer, authorizing the mayor to hire said persons, establishing compensation, repealing ordinance number 23-27, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Those are the part-time ones. Any questions on that? Motion to bring it up. Motion to bring it up. Second. Here you go. A lot of reading. Huh? Oh, I know. Thank you, Mr. Benson. You're welcome. And I will turn it over to you to finish up. We get everything. I really. Do you have anything to add? I mean, we would get two things done. Okay. They're going to have a groundbreaking on the ribbon cutting on the 18th at 10 or 11 o'clock. Not sure what time. Great news. And the baseball team that was here, they want to talk about putting 2 fields, little league fields, back-to-back outfields. I don't have a problem with it, but I still, it has to be maintained as a public park. You're saying it's open to the public? Yeah, and he said he has no problem if they, it just, like during baseball season, they have priority on the field. Absolutely. And that's understandable. Yeah, and the football field is the same thing. They're coming up with the necessary funding to put the fields in. Yes, yeah. Maintain them. Yes.
You're going to pay for providing the fields to get rid of those days.
Yeah.
Maintain those fields.
Yeah.
The dog park has money, they got.
Probably still continue to I'm getting the far back of where that was used to be.
Yeah, I remember.
That was gone. Yeah. So I'm getting close to that by Friday on repairing that roof. It has to be redone no matter what we do with that park. We have to keep that roof because, like I said, that's our rental supply. And at some point, we may think about putting cameras up there.
Sure. So in the old bathroom, that's where our electric comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a large lot, and it sounds like the dog park would be a nice added feature there. And it's for the project. And if they want to watch a bit slow, they can do that. There's
The swing sets is a great idea because even if you're having a baseball game,
absolutely. I've been asking the last 5 years.
That would be a good area for me.
Foundation could be swing set.
And then Mrs. Grimm wanted to be a
If